you doing? My name's Jake, you're watching Fighter Fans TV, and on this video I'm going to be talking about Kevin Holland moving down to the 170-pound welterweight division in the UFC. So as we saw back at UFC Fight Night Vegas 22, Kevin Holland got defeated after the 5 rounds were done via unanimous decision. Kevin Brunson, of course, out-wrestled him. He had a good game plan going in. He decided not to stand there and trade with Kevin Holland, which is completely understandable. Why would you want to trade with Kevin Holland? But what the UFC needs to do, what the UFC needs to be really careful of, is they need to make sure that these characters like Kevin Holland are getting as much spotlight as possible. He himself said, look, you know, I talk a lot in the octagon, and he did it on Saturday night between rounds. He was saying to Habib, look, you know, who was sat cage side next to Dana White, he said, look, can I get some wrestling advice? Can you give me some advice? Like, what am I supposed to, you know, what am I supposed to do? It's ridiculous. It's like you don't see it elsewhere in the UFC. But with Holland potentially moving down to the 170 pound weight, you know, around that area, it depends whether or not he could do it at first. He said he wants to get a nutritionist in. He wants to try it. He wants to move down a weight class. I don't blame him. I mean, the middleweight class right now is all about Izzy. It's all about Darren Till. I would have really liked to see a Kevin Holland Darren Till fight, purely just for the build-up, purely just for the verbal jabs back and forth. That would have been brilliant. I would have really enjoyed that. But I think Izzy, Till, Whitaker, Vettori, those guys are going to hold down that 185 pound division for quite a long time. Kevin Holland said, look, you know, I don't want to fight 25 minutes at this weight class, which is fair enough. You know, if he doesn't want to fight that weight class for that amount of time, then he doesn't have to. He can move down to 170. If he feels better at that weight, then fight at that weight. You can't blame him. I mean, he could potentially even, like, you know, once he's cut a little bit, he could put on a little bit more mass. He'd probably be coming in at around the 180, 182 range anyway when he comes in to actually fight. And people like Kamaru Usman, I'd like to see that fight. I'd like to definitely see him in there with Masvidal. Just the verbal sparring back and forth would be fantastic. You've got people like Conor McGregor. I said before about getting these big personalities in. Conor McGregor himself has now said, look, you know, the best I've ever felt was at 170. Would I fight there again? That's what the UFC needs to do with Kevin Holland. I mean, he proved it last year. He was Fighter of the Year for so many people. He won 5 fights. He took 5 fights. He won 5 fights. That's impressive. During the pandemic, that's massively impressive. And then he got unlucky against Brunson. But the point is, he's a star. He's a star in the making. And you've got to make sure, if you're the UFC, that you put quite a lot behind this guy, and you make sure that he's in front of the camera. You make sure he's talking a lot. Who are the biggest personalities in mixed martial arts right now? Who is the big #1 draw? The big #1 draw, hands down, is Conor McGregor. Who are the biggest draws in combat sports? I know people don't want to say it, and I know people don't like it, but it is the Paul brothers. Yes, they're not professional fighters. Yes, they've had professional fights. But if they genuinely got in there with people that could throw, that would be game over for them. But Logan Paul is getting a fight against Floyd Mayweather, arguably the greatest ever. Jake Paul's getting a fight against Ben Askren, and it's going to be a huge pay-per-view event. The reason they're in these positions is because they have personality, and they know how to present, and they know how to make themselves larger than life and make sure that people buy a pay-per-view. Conor McGregor knows how to make himself larger than life and get people to buy a pay-per-view. That is what this game is all about. Kamaru Usman is a fantastic fighter, but in general, people don't seem to be warming to his personality. This is one of the reasons I said Leon Edwards should be going in for that fight against Kamaru Usman, because Leon Edwards will be coming in as a heel. You know, if you're going to talk pro wrestling, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Lingo, that's it, lingo, that's what I'm looking for. If you want to talk pro wrestling lingo, he's going to come in as a heel. People aren't happy with the eye poke, you know, so Kamaru Usman will be coming as the baby face. You know, I'm going to beat this guy, you know, he needs to do this and that. That's what MMA needs more of. That's what it needs more of. Chael Sonnen, people hated him, but he knew he was disliked. He knew that he had to make himself that character so that he would sell pay-per-views. And what did Chael Sonnen did? He sold many, many pay-per-views for the UFC and Bellator. He did a lot of business for both companies. So that is what the UFC needs to do with someone like a Kevin Holland. He can be the face of a division. I can see it. He's got the personality. And at 170, I'd like to see him fight Kamaru Usman in front of a crowd, because I think people, as much as Usman is a well-respected fighter, and he is clearly at the top of his game, and he is fantastic, because you do not get to the top of mixed martial arts without being good at your craft and being able to fight. And clearly, Usman can fight. But does he have that personality? Does he have that next level personality? Is he so good? Is he so dominant that he doesn't need to have that personality? Is he a Fedor? No, he's not a Fedor. He is dominating the division right now. But the thing is, people want Masvidal in main events. People want Kevin Holland in main events because they have personality. And that's what the UFC needs to do. They need to strap a rocket to Kevin Holland and just let him fly. Because he could end up being, in the next couple of years, I think Kevin Holland's really going to be up there as a major star for the UFC, selling pay-per-views left, right and centre. And it's going to be something to really, really look forward to. So thank you very much for watching this video right here on Fighter Fans TV. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. You can do this one, don't do this one, it's bad. Do this one, and don't forget to hit the little notification bell so you know each and every time we release a brand new video right here on Fighter Fans TV.